Alrighty folks, welcome to my NFL Week 2 video here today for the 25-26 season. My name is Brock Page. I've been dishing out free sports picks on YouTube since 2016. If you want to see which one of these free plays on this video here today that I actually like the best, I've got 3 more NFL tier membership plays going off here this week on my premium page. Those plays are already posted and ready for access. And if you sign up for my NFL tier membership, you're going to get access to that membership every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, you're also going to get access to all of my cheaper memberships during that time frame, absolutely free. Going to be included with your membership. And with that, folks, let's go ahead and dive right into some free content. Should be a good one. Commanders, Packers, 8:15 Eastern kickoff Thursday night. Green Bay is -3.5, totals 48. Of course, both teams with some success moving the football in week 1. The Packers ended up with 27 points and averaged 5.7 yards per play from scrimmage. Jordan Love completed 73% of his throws for the Packers, couple of touchdowns, no interceptions, and no sacks. Meanwhile, the Commanders on the other side, well, they did a great job establishing the run game. They ran for 220 yards in week 1 against the Giants. Top 3 in the league right now in yards per play from scrimmage. McCroskey Merritt averaged 8.2 yards per carry on 10 touches. Jaden Daniels was 6.2 yards per rush on the ground. I think we could have a fun one here in Lambeau on Thursday night. I like the over 48. All right, next matchup, Bills-Jets, 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff on Sunday. Buffalo's -7, totals 46. And despite their heroic come-from-behind victory against Baltimore, this Buffalo defense was pretty much a mess for much of the game. They allowed 238 yards on the ground, over 8.6 yards per play. And they're facing a Jets offense who looked pretty explosive against the Steelers in their opener. 32 points and 182 yards on the ground. And despite the outright loss, the Jets did manage to cover the point spread in that ball game. Breece Hall had 107 yards on the ground, 5.6 yards per touch. When it came to the passing game, Justin Fields kind of looked like Joe Montana. He completed 73% of his, well, I won't quite say Joe Montana, but he completed 73% of his throws. No interceptions from the former Steeler. Now, total-wise, both teams saw their week 1 contests fly way over the posted number. I like the Jets +7, over 46. All right, next matchup, little divisional game here. Bears-Lions, 1 o'clock East. Detroit's -6, totals 47. And the Lions looked pretty terrible against Green Bay in week 1. Bottom 10 in yards allowed per play. No pressure on the quarterback. And they're facing a Chicago team who did do some things right on Monday night. They pretty much dominated their game against Minnesota for much of 3 quarters. Caleb Williams didn't throw any picks, did a lot of good stuff with his legs. And DeAndre Swift ran pretty hard for the Bears, had a handful of strong runs. Of course, total-wise, Chicago's opening game it flew 8 points above the posted number. I like the Bears +6, over 47. All right, next matchup, Browns-Ravens. That'll be a 1 o'clock Eastern start, if I can find it here on the big screen. There we go. Baltimore is -11. They're laying double digits, totals 45. And I do have significant concerns about this Baltimore defense. They allowed 41 points in week 1, blew a massive lead late in that game. And this Ravens secondary allowed nearly 400 yards through the air. That's just not good enough. And they better get a pass rush on old man Joe Flacco because he was still able to sling it in week 1 against Cincinnati. The Browns did cover the point spread, and they did dominate in time of possession. Flacco completed nearly 70% of his balls, 290 yards on the day. I'll tell you what, 11 points is a lot to catch in a divisional matchup. These games tend to be tight. Plus, you got a little bit of a motivation factor with Flacco playing this one in Baltimore. It's a solid NFL storyline. Of course, total-wise, the Ravens did see their matchup Sunday fly 30 points above the posted number. I like Cleveland plus 11 over 45. All right, next matchup, Jaguars, Bengals, 1 o'clock East. Cincinnati's minus 3.5, totals 50. And I think both offenses could potentially struggle in this one. Since he allowed, sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. Both offenses I think could potentially struggle. Since he allowed just 49 yards on the ground last week defensively, they shut out the Browns in the fourth quarter. Jordan Battle had a dozen tackles and a pick. Demetrius Knight with double-digit tackles himself. Meanwhile, the Jags on the other side, they held Carolina to just 10 points in the opener, finished in the top 5 and fewest yards allowed from scrimmage. Foye Oluokun, he had an interception, double-digit tackles. Jordan Lewis with a pick and a handful of tackles himself. Of course, both teams did see unders in week 1. This is a pretty high total, in my opinion. I like the under 50. All right, next game, Rams, Titans, 1 o'clock East. The Rams are minus 5, totals 42.5. Now, LA played some pretty stout defense in their week 1 win against Houston. They held C.J. Stroud to just 151 yards passing. They gave up just 9 points in the win. Curl and Landman with double-digit tackles apiece. Byron Young with a sack and 9 tackles as well. And as you guys know, over the years, I rarely trust young quarterbacks. And Cam Ward was no exception to that on Sunday. He went just 12 of 28 for 112 yards. No touchdowns for the youngster. And unfortunately, Ward also ended up taking 6 sacks in the opener. That's a big thing amongst young quarterbacks. They take a lot of sacks. And Ward was no exception to that. His leading receiver was Tony Pollard out of the backfield, and it was just 1 grab for 29 yards. I think the Rams defense will be licking their chops a little bit in Nashville on Sunday. Of course, total-wise, both teams with unders in their week 1 contests, respectively. I like the Rams minus 5, under 42.5. Next game, Giants, Cowboys, 1 o'clock East. Dallas is minus 5.5, totals 45. And Cowboys got a lot of things to build on after their week 1 loss to the defending champs. They held the Eagles to just a field goal in the second half. They were about 4 CeeDee Lamb drops away from winning that ball game. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, I cannot say the same about the Giants. They looked terrible against Washington. The G-men scored just 6 points, averaged only 3.7 yards per play. I think Wilson's cooked. Career's done. You're not going to get old Russ. And I don't know what it is. They just, Dayball continues to put out just an incredibly uninspired team week in and week out. And listen, they're going to face a Dallas defense who actually held Jalen Hurts to just 144 yards passing. A.J. Brown got just 1 target for Philly in that game. Hooker and Murray had 18 tackles between the both of them. Clark and Sanborn, they were all over the field as well. Handful of tackles for them. Both teams saw unders in their week 1 matchups. I like the Cowboys minus 5.5, under 45. All right, Patriots, Dolphins, 1 o'clock East. Couple of teams who put up some stinkers in week 1. Miami is the 2-point favorite at home in this one. Totals 44.5. And listen, these 2 organizations are interesting. Feels like Miami has some talent, but no faith in the coach. And it feels like the Patriots lack significant talent, but they have full faith in the coach. The Pats were, tough against the run in their week 1 loss to Vegas. They limited the Raiders to just 56 yards on the ground. Of course, Vegas did throw a bunch, but if we're going to take some positives, the Pats were tough against the run. Harold Landry got some significant pressure on the quarterback for New England. 2.5 sacks last week, handful of tackles. Of course, Christian Ellis did leave. He did lead this Patriots D in tackles last week. Meanwhile, Miami on the other side, well, they were just abysmal on offense. Threw for just $133, dead last in time of possession. They were rarely on the field. Listen, if you weren't aware, the Dolphins took a 25-point shellacking to the Daniel Jones-led Colts. Daniel Jones was the quarterback for Indy last week, and he made them look terrible. Now, no real surprise here. Both teams did see unders in week 1 as well. I like the Patriots +2, under 44.5. All right, next game, Niners, Saints, 1 o'clock East. San Francisco's -4, totals 43. And I don't know about you, but I think we're getting a bit of a bargain with this number, in my opinion. Niners did some things well on both sides of the football in week 1. Their secondary allowed just 146 yards last week, and they dominated in defensive time of possession. They were rarely on the field. Nick Bosa with 3 tackles for loss and a sack. Fred Warner led the unit in tackles. And listen, I'm just not feeling great about the Saints on offense. Bottom 10 in yards per play. 6 sacks allowed in their opener. Definitely looking for this Niner defense to just tee off on Spencer Rattler. Of course, both teams with unders in their week 1 openers. I like the Niners -4, under 43. All right, next matchup, Seahawks, Steelers, 1 o'clock Eastern start. Pittsburgh's -3.5, totals 40. And I'll tell you what, man, this Steeler defense had a tough time slowing down a Justin Fields-led Jets team Sunday. They faced Justin Fields in practice all year last year, and they could not slow him down on Sunday. The Steelers allowed 32 points, and they ended up finishing in the bottom 5 in yards allowed per play. When it comes to run defense, well, Pittsburgh was Swiss cheese against Breece Hall, and the Jets allowed over 180 yards on the ground. And even though I'm not overly excited about this Seattle offensive unit, listen, take the good with the bad. They didn't commit a whole lot of penalties. No interceptions out of the veteran Sam Darnold. Sam completed 70% of his throws, limited mistakes. Once again, no interceptions and just 1 sack allowed. And of course, Jackson Smith-Njigba. He had one heck of a day for Seattle last week. 9 grabs, 124 yards. I think the Steelers secondary could be in trouble this week. And listen, out of these teams' last 3 head-to-head gatherings, the over cashed in all those games. So if you're into historical trends, plenty of overs to go around. I like Seattle +3.5, over 40. All right, next game, getting into the afternoon slate. Panthers, Cardinals, 4:05 East. Arizona's -6, totals 45. The Cardinals were pretty stout on the defensive side of the football in week 1. They gave up just 3 points in the second half. Finished in the top 10 in fewest yards allowed per play. It was Budda Baker with double-digit tackles. Wilson and Thompson with 8 tackles apiece as well. And of course, they're facing a Carolina team who continues to struggle airing it out. This is a team who has not thrown the football well in many seasons. It was just 142 yards through the air on Sunday for them. Bottom 5 in yards per play. Of course, no real surprise. Both teams with unders in week 1. I like the Cardinals -6, under 45. All right, Broncos, Colts, 4:05 East. Denver's -2.5 away from home. Totals 42 and a hook. And the Broncos, they were in a bit of a dogfight with a terrible Tennessee organization last week. They did not throw it great. Bottom 5 in yards per pass. And this Indy defense last week, well, they made Tua look like a rookie in week 1. They allowed just 133 yards through the air, dominated in defensive time of possession. Matter of fact, this Colts defense was on the field for just 21 minutes out of a 60-minute game. They forced several turnovers. Cam Bynum with a couple of PDs as well as an interception, and Nick Cross with a handful of tackles. He had a pick himself. Of course, both teams with unders in week 1, respectively. I like the Colts plus 2.5, under 42 and a hook. All right, game of the week. Super Bowl rematch, Eagles-Chiefs, 425 East. Philadelphia's minus 1.5, totals 47. Of course, both teams moved the ball well in week 1. That's no surprise. Eagles ran for a bunch of yards, as they always do. Kansas City threw for a bunch of yards, as they always do. Patrick Mahomes threw for 258, no interceptions. Hollywood Brown with 99 yards on 10 catches. He was the favorite target in that one. And obviously with the Eagles on the other side, it was all Saquon and Hurts on the ground. It was over 120 yards on the ground between both of those guys. 3 touchdowns scored between both of them as well. I think we should have a fun one on Sunday at Arrowhead Stadium. Give me the over 47. All right, Sunday night, Falcons-Vikings, 8:20 Eastern kickoff. Minnesota's minus 4.5, totals 46. Now, the Vikings ran for 120 yards on Monday. It was a inspired come-from-behind victory against Chicago. It was an improbable come-from-behind victory, but they looked sharp. 21 points in the fourth quarter alone. It was a solid team win. And listen, I mean, if you're a young, inexperienced quarterback, find your top receiver. Throw it to him. Feed him. Get him the ball. Force him the ball. A guy like Justin Jefferson is going to do great things for you. And that's what McCarthy ended up doing. Meanwhile, Atlanta on the other side, well, they had Tampa Bay on the ropes on Sunday. Game could have went either way. Michael Penix looked great. He threw for 298 yards. No interceptions for him. Bijan Robinson had 100 yards receiving out of the backfield. And out of these teams' last 3 head-to-head meetings, the overcash in all 3 of those games. So once again, if you're into historical trends, certainly want to think about that one there. I like the over 46. All right, moving into some Monday action, the old Monday doubleheader. Going to start off with the Bucs at the Texans, 7 o'clock Monday night. Houston's the 2-point favorite, totals 42. And listen, man, both secondaries with their fair share of problems in their openers. The Texans are currently in the bottom 10 in passing yards allowed. Tampa Bay gave up nearly 300 yards to Michael Penix. They couldn't get off the field. I think we'll see a little bit more out of C.J. Stroud in this Houston offense in this one. Not saying they're going to win it, but we should see a little bit more out of them. They're certainly capable. I do like some points in this one. I like the over 42. And with that, folks, we're going to jump into our next and final breakdown for the video. It's going to be in that Chargers-Raiders game, 10 o'clock East. The Chargers are minus 3. Total is 47. And listen, for some reason, it feels like Vegas gets their home field advantage taken away from them. Lots of fans end up showing up to Allegiant Stadium. I think a lot of fans, they travel well there. You know, they kind of plan a week or a long weekend. They end up vacationing in Vegas and go to the game. And I think people stay in town a lot. And, you know, opposing teams travel well. And listen, LA's only a hop, skip, and a jump away from Las Vegas. I mean, listen, the Chargers looked impressive against the AFC champion Chiefs in Brazil. They threw for a bunch of yards, really moved the ball at will against them. Justin Herbert completed 73% of his throws, 318 yards, and 3 touchdowns. It was Johnston and McConkey who combined for over 150 yards receiving. Johnston with a pair of touchdown receptions. And the Raiders on the other side, well, they took on a rebuilding New England squad in week 1. Listen, they got the W, they got the job done, but they were a bit one-dimensional in that matchup. Vegas threw for a ton of yards, but they ran for just 56 on the ground. So they were really no threat running the football. I don't think you're just going to stand back there and try to pick apart this secondary in this matchup, especially with this Charger pass rush. I like the Chargers -3 under 47. And with that, folks, now it's time for our quick pick recap. I like the over 48 in that Washington-Green Bay matchup. Give me the Jets +7 over 46. We're hitting at 64% in our last 11 NFL tier membership plays on my premium page. Give me the Bears +6 over 47. Cleveland +11 over 45. I like the under 50 in that Jacksonville-Cincinnati matchup. I like the Rams -5 under 42.5. Cowboys -5.5 under 45. Patriots +2 under 44.5. 49ers -4 under 43. Seattle +3.5 over 40. Cardinals -6 under 45. Colts +2.5 under 42 and a hook. Over 47, Eagles Chiefs. Over 46, Atlanta Minnesota. Over 42, Buccaneers Texans. And give me the Chargers -3 under 47. And with that, folks, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my premium page. And just a friendly final reminder, if you do end up getting a membership here today on my premium page, you're going to get access to that membership every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, you're also going to get access to all of my cheaper memberships during that time frame, absolutely free. Going to be included with your membership. That's why I always tell folks that Gold Club package, it's a full access, all-inclusive membership. Gives you access to every single premium selection of mine, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. But most importantly, folks, got to thank you for joining me right here on the free video. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that, folks, happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my premium page.